Right. Good evening to Dr. Rahim and to my fellow classmates. Right. Let me get straight to the point. Right. For this week, Dr. Rahim introduced his PhD student, Siti Nur Zaimalina, during the WebEx class session. Alright. She's actually previously was one of my classmates during my leadership class. Right. She explained that we need to do a critical review based on a research paper which carries 20% of our marks. She told us that we have to get into two pairs within a group to find two different journal articles, but it must be something related to the call subject. So when I created the group, I added Dr. Rahim, Nur Zamalina, and the rest of my peers. Okay, we started to discuss about few themes and decided that choosing articles related to knowing the perception of teachers or educators on the incorporation of the call subject in the current educational settings. Alright, so when we picked the two articles, we sort of had to submit it to Dr. Rahim, which we submitted alongside with our recording as well. So after the approval, we decided to divide the two articles among the pairs. So when I got the article for my side, so I decided to start on with my individual task, which is now I'm going to review of the article, which the title is EFL Pre-Service Teachers' Perceptions Towards the Use of Call in English Language Classrooms. Right, the aims or the objectives is actually to investigate English as a foreign language, pre-service teachers' perception towards the use of computer-assisted language learning in the English language classroom concerning the teacher's computer competence and their perception of call after creating and using their own call in language teaching. There are two research questions. The first one is, what is the EFL pre-service teacher's computer competence? Second is, what are EFL pre-service teachers' perceptions towards the use of call? All right. The type of research that the two researchers used was actually more towards a quantitative research, where they utilized a 5-point Likert scale questionnaire consisting of 3 parts, adapted from Van der Terre and Desmet 2009 to collect the data after teaching the call subject. So the first part of the questionnaire is consisting of 3 items, which is asking about the participants' personal information about the computer ownership, whether they have computers or not, the internet access with their computers, and the frequency of computer use for a lesson taught. The second part consists of 10 items where it's regarding the participants' computer competence, whether they can handle it or not. The third part contains 17 items, which contains the participants' perceptions of the call. So when it comes to the participants, there are 81 EFL pre-service teachers were chosen who was actually studying in the Faculty of Education Mahasarskram University, Thailand, in their second semester of 2016. So the procedures, actually there are 4 procedures. First, the researchers introduce a call to the participants as a part of teaching methodology course. Second, the participants were assigned to choose one of their lesson plans and design a call program for their lesson plan selected. Third, they were required to use the call program designed in peer teaching. Fourth, the questionnaires were given out and the data obtained were analyzed for percentage, mean, and standard deviation. So here comes the findings of my thoughts. Okay, first impression is when I read the article, actually I found it could be very essential for future educators, curriculum developers, and textbook publishers to incorporate more correlated content where students can use certain applications to study or do tasks online. As the article is published based on an Asian country, which was in Thailand, it shows that it is important to be competent with technological means with the adequate level of source available. The article was published on 26th of November 2018, which is not very far from the concurrent time settings, which is in 2020. So the results of the findings can be useful for various parties, as the parties I mentioned earlier on. So it is important to find out the level of competence in using technological equipment. So based on the findings, majority of the participants, which is 77.8%, always use a computer as a teaching aid for their lessons, while 22.2% of them sometimes use them. This finding aligns with Kessler's 2016 suggestion that technology for language education has continually changed to the language educators actually required to be knowledgeable about what call is. Besides that, the participants showed high level of competence in operating a presentation program by 88.89%, which is almost to 90%, using a printer by 76.54%, and operating a word processing program by 61.73%. Despite that, 27.16% and 24.69% of them identified a low level of competence in accessing different types of information and call materials via the World Wide Web and solving basic problems in operating computers respectively. Kohler 2006 suggests that training in how to teach with technology needs to be provided to teachers, so it's aligned with the problems there. So Kilikia and Safaroglu 2013 noted that integrating technology into the classroom helped create engaging learning activities that is acknowledged by 71.60% of the participants who reported that the use of a computer made language learning interesting and would be more encouraging. As a teacher, I have taught many lessons before. Usually, some of them are using chalk and board method or other methods. But I notice when you use projectors and computers, they will be very encouraged. So, okay, to what extent would I want to agree or disagree with the author's ideas articles? I would actually think that I would very much agree with the author, as during the 21st century, educators have to utilize more of the call related materials, not only to assist the teaching process, but also to help the students to know more about what they learn, especially in the syllabus, following the syllabus, right, compared to traditional chalk and talk method. So this aligns with Coyle's 2006 suggested that teachers need a deep understanding of effective teaching with technology integration so as to predict and infer about the suitability of the materials and teaching approaches in different contexts to promote effective teaching and learning. So the first strength I notice is actually the questionnaire used in the journal articles is quite useful and quite good, as it contains the important ones, the personal information related to the frequency of computer use, followed by the current competence level of using computers, and finally the perception. So it's quite a good questionnaire which they adapted. The weakness of it is where the participants are actually pre-service teachers who are yet to teach or have less experience in teaching the language. This might cause other researchers to ask the value of paper as a research study, concentrating on in-service teachers, which is much more better. Varying from different age groups would provide a better understanding of the real working world situation. I also felt that the researchers should have added a more qualitative approach of either using an observation or interviewing some of the pre-service teachers and in-service teachers, and by analyzing the difference between the perceptions between them. All right, last but not least, I find it that the correlation of studies should have been done too, between the participants' personal information in the part one and the frequency of computer use of the computer competence of part two. So they should have done a correlation study as well. So I think there are some things up to think and ponder upon. So that should be my critical analysis. Thank you very much, guys.